Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Behind the Autograph podcast. This week's podcast and every other podcast we're going to do is going to be in partnership with the Cheap Pops Wrestling Podcast. And you can find them at Cheap Pops WP on Twitter, or you can find them on YouTube at Cheap Pops Wrestling Podcast. There's some great guys, and we're going to be working with them for a long time, so every one of our episodes, I'll plug them at the beginning. And this week on our Behind the Autograph podcast, we had a great guy. His name is Maz Adams. He is an artist. He's a podcaster. He's a big sports fan, big wrestling fan, Yankees fan. He was a really cool dude to talk to. You can find him at Maz Adams Art on every social media platform imaginable, as well as The Art of Maz Adams on Facebook. That is where you can find him, and you can also find his art at mazadamsart.com. So he's really cool dude. We talked to him this week. I hope you guys enjoy the podcast. He's also a podcaster. He has the Super Normal podcast. It talks about paranormal events and unexplained events, and we talked about that a little bit, and it's pretty cool. You can find that at the Super Normal podcast. You can find that on all podcasting platforms, iTunes, etc. So you guys can look that up, and I hope you guys enjoy this week's episode. And I really enjoyed talking to Maz. I think it's a really interesting episode. So for now, enjoy. So how long have you been collecting, man?
Off and on, but mostly on. I go through waves. Probably since I was maybe like 10 or 9 or something like that. But it's become more serious, over the past decade or so.
Right. What kind of sports do you usually collect? Are you like more into one sport versus others, or is it a wide variety?
I mean, my number one has always been and will always be baseball. Just something about playing it and the connection I had, learning the game from my dad and the bond. I think it's part of the team. Like the part of the reason is the teams that I like, or the team that I like in baseball is a lot easier to go to than the team I like in football. But I'm also a big football fan. I was more into basketball when I was younger. Even bowling. I grew up around bowling, but baseball is far and away number one to me.
That's cool. Did you ever do like the professional bowler TTM, like any of the professional bowlers TTM or anything like that?
I've never done through the mail. I think part of it is because when I was really involved in it, I hadn't really grasped through the mail yet or really began to do it. And also, I was very lucky to grow up every Friday around the bowling alley that was owned by Johnny Petraglia, who's a famous bowler. And through that and through my dad, who was a very serious bowler, I got to meet a lot of the guys that I like to watch on like ESPN. So anything that I wanted, I kind of got done in person.
Oh, that is super cool. I always like watching those bowling tournaments when they're on. I see them on ESPN every now and then, and they're pretty fun to watch. So to actually be able to meet those guys, that would be super cool, definitely.
Yeah, they used to have something called like the Pro-Am, where you would get paired with a professional bowler and bowl in a tournament. So my dad would do that, so I got to see it that way. And also, they would actually host the PBA tour there at the bowling alley, so I got to go a couple of times. So that was really cool.
Yeah, that would be certainly awesome. We don't have anything like that around my area, I'll tell you that. It's all cornfields around here, man. There ain't nothing to do. I gotta go to big cities for my autograph collecting. But
I hear you. I'm lucky, from where I'm from. And for those that don't know, I'm originally from Brooklyn. I grew up in New Jersey most of my life. I think I moved from Brooklyn when I was like 9. So, the West Coast is like number one, but East Coast is pretty good too here around New York.
That's awesome. That would be quite the area to grow up in. I love New York. I go there often for different events and stuff, mostly professional wrestling events, but I've been to New York a time or two, and it's great up that way. So, But
oh yeah, it's got to be a culture shock for you. It's definitely nonstop. So I always say it's like a movie set in the city. It's crazy. It's just it's a lot, even for me.
Yes, absolutely. We actually, me and my brother went to Madison Square Garden to a WWE show the day after Christmas, and we went up there and all kinds of craziness happened. We ended up getting lost, and like we this guy kept following us around, and we thought he was gonna mug us. It was quite the adventure, to say the least.
Was that this year?
Yeah, that was this year. That was
Was
their live event, their Christmas show the day after Christmas.
was that the one with was there a cage match? Was it
Rollins and Ambrose? Yeah.
Yeah, I was there too, man.
Oh, no way. No way. That's cool.
yeah. I had really, really good seats, man. I go to the Garden every chance I can get. I've gone to wrestling since I was a little kid, since I was like, I think my first event I was like 9 at Nassau Coliseum. Actually, I was like 7. But yeah, I was just at that event too. So yeah, the Garden is awesome. Glad you got to experience that.
Yeah, that was my first trip to the Garden, and it certainly won't be the last, because that was incredible. That was a great show, and they even had Vince there, and that was a little treat.
Yeah, Vince and Cena had a little segment, and Corbin. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have to show you the photos, man. I took some really nice shots.
Oh yes, I'd love to see them for sure. We were a little higher up, but we still had half decent seats, so it was all right, Just more, my brother bought them, and he was like, we're going to Madison Square Garden, and I was just through the roof with it. I was like, wow, like the birthplace of wrestling, if you will, So I was just very excited about that. And
it's always special there. The wrestlers know it too. You always get something a little, even for a house show, they always do something nice.
Yes, for sure. So, on the autograph side of things, do you have like any tips you want to share with people as far as like TTMs and maybe even like in person, like meeting people in person, or anything like that? Any tips that you'd like to share with new people to the hobby?
Absolutely. As far as like in person, I don't do a ton of, like street graphing per se. I've been very blessed through my artwork to meet a lot of people and go to a lot of signings and be in the back room at signings and things like that. So from that aspect, I can't really give. I mean, I've done some graphing in person, like on the street with friends and things like that. And of course, being around New York, I think in person, the most important thing is to, number one, be prepared. Be organized. A lot of times you could be as prepared as you want and still like spur of the moment. You gotta be quick and know what you're doing. Always have in mind, if you have a couple things you want signed, what's number one, and always, make it easy for the person. And most importantly, like the first thing is be polite. There's a lot of people that feel entitled, and I would be lying if I sat here and said, if somebody says no to an autograph, I'm not upset. They don't owe me anything. But at the same rate, I understand it because they don't, So I think be prepared, make their job easy for them, and be polite, and just be genuine, There's a lot of people that graph to sell, and that's fine, and a lot of fans can only get it through the secondary market, but I think a lot of these guys can tell, and ladies, if you're a genuine fan or not. And as far as through the mail, that's more of like my area where I've excelled. I pride myself on the research aspect of it. I think there's a lot of people that just want handouts, and I'm okay with helping people out as long as they're willing to do the work.
Absolutely.
But again, it's about convenience and about finding out, how to find addresses. I've had the best success through addresses I found on my own by doing research, and it's the fun part is doing the research and seeing if it's going to work or not. Nothing's a guarantee, but it's high risk, high reward.
Absolutely, it's the chase. That's what they say. The chase is the best part. So that's some good advice there. Now you had mentioned about your artwork, and let's talk a little bit about that. Who have you done art for or art of, and do you get them signed then, or how's that work?
Yeah, so I'll just preface it by the way I got into it. I went to school for cartooning and comic art. Anybody who's a comic fan, I went to the Joe Kubert School of Cartoon and Graphic Art. That's one of the most, if not the most, well-known schools that kind of get into that. So I've always been a big nerd, had a love for Batman and Star Wars, Planet of the Apes, and stuff like that. And over the past couple of years, doing Through the Mail stuff, I do a sketch as a thank you to somebody to try to entice them and show them that I'm serious and I'm a genuine fan. A lot of people, and I'm not knocking them, though, they just like that high of sending to anybody and everybody and getting it back. I only send to people I genuinely want, and part of that is to show them is to do the sketch and stuff like that. So I was doing these sketches, and I was showing them online, and people really took to them. They had a really great reaction. So through that, somebody who works with Don Mattingly, he puts on like a charity event every year. They asked me if I would want to do a piece, and that's kind of like what got the ball rolling. He was the first guy that I did an exclusive piece for, and since then, I've done stuff for like Bernie Williams charity, Isaac Bruce for any football fans, guy who deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. I've done a piece for his Gridiron Gala 2 years in a row. I've done stuff for exclusive prints for Ronald Acuna Jr. I'm trying to think who else. David Cohn just had a charity event I did a piece for. So, and then like guys on my own I'll do, or if there's somebody that wants something signed, I'll do it for them. So it's just like I get very little time now to do something just for myself, but when I can, I still like to do that. I've been very lucky in the past 2 years how things have gone, and I'm living my dream, and it's incredible. I enjoy every second of it.
That's amazing. Those are some big names there. That's I couldn't even imagine like getting to interact with those guys, and for those guys to be asking you to do those pieces and stuff. What kind of reaction do they have to it when you present the piece to them, or that kind of thing?
Yeah, it runs a gamut. I think the thing is, you expect, at least I do. I figured like a lot of the older guys, the guys who have been around a while, are probably so numb to it because they've been drawn a million times by incredible artists. You'd think, some of the younger guys would be the ones kind of like more into it, but it sometimes works reverse. Some of the reactions were really cool. Like I met, obviously, like I said, I'm a big Yankee fan. I met El Duque for the first time last year, and I had brought a painting that I did to sign, and he asked me, "Hey man, you mind if I take out my phone and take a photo of it?" And my wife was able to capture his reaction, and so some of them are great. Some of them don't even look up and just sign and whatever. But I've been blessed where the vast majority of them have been super complimentary and comment on the uniqueness of my work, and it's like that's the ultimate. To take up a moment in their head, knowing that they're thinking or looking at your work is pretty cool.
Yeah, that would be incredible, and that would be a crazy job to have, is to do artwork and stuff for these athletes that we've watched all our lives and stuff like that. So that's amazing that you're living your dream, man. That's just good stuff, and to be an autograph collector on top of it is just like that's great. Helps you out, helps you add to the collection if you want that particular player. But that's good stuff. Is there any really I don't know how to phrase it, I guess, like a bad experience you had with somebody, like not necessarily somebody that you did a portrait for, but just like in general, just like graphing or whatever, is there any bad experiences you've had in the past?
I've never really had anything that soured me too much. I've never met anybody that was like terrible. They say don't meet your heroes, and I'm a realist. I know it's a business. I know how what it's like. I would say, and again, I wasn't disappointed, and I'm not trying to put this person on blast at all. I'm a huge Cowboys fan. I may not get love for that. That's why I was saying before that that's maybe why I was bigger baseball fan, is because I can't readily go to Cowboy games when I'm growing up in New Jersey or New York. But and going into it, I knew that Troy Aikman, I had heard not so good things about him. When I went to a show to meet him, he was super late. He was like 2+ hours late, and he didn't even stay to sign for everybody. And because of that, I couldn't even meet him. Luckily, my wife took my drawing, and she said he was perfectly nice to her, said it was a cool drawing, but I didn't get the chance to meet him. That was probably for me just a little bit of a disappointment, but things happen. I've never had anybody just straight up be nasty or anything like that. It's always heartbreaking, especially when you're younger. Being at a ball game and somebody signing and then they stop like right in front of you and you don't get them or whatever. But
yep.
Things have changed. Like I said, I try to focus on the positives and be grateful for what I have, because my collection's pretty great, and it's getting to the point where I'm always a fan, but I also have to be professional, so I have to kind of straddle that line, and I have to start selling some of my originals, because for me it's hard to let go of some of these guys I love, and only recently have I started like selling the stuff that I collected for myself. That's art. I've done commissions throughout for people and gotten them signed or what have you, but the ones that I get specifically for me, I feel an emotional attachment to, and it's a memory. It's I put my heart into my work, so but you gotta strike that balance.
Absolutely. And while we're on the subject, where can people find your artwork or stuff like that, or find your business or anything like that you want to plug while we're early on into the podcast? Because you never know, this might be a long one, so might as well plug it now. But
yeah, I appreciate it, man. I love talking about this stuff, and anybody who wants to hear, I'm grateful. Like I said, it's incredible. So it's my website is mazadamsart.com. That's M-A-Z Adams, A-D-A-M-S art.com. You can get prints off of there. I'm always adding stuff. I have a lot of work I still have to upload. I'm going to add some originals up there and stuff like that too. Instagram, Maz Adams Art. Twitter, Maz Adams Art. Facebook, you can find me on my regular page under Maz Adams, or you can find me, it's the one thing that's different. It's the Art of Maz Adams. That's on Facebook. Or my email, which is mazadamsart @gmail.com.
Awesome. I will certainly be checking that out, and I hope that all of our listeners give it a go here, and that's a good place to start for sure. But is there on the flip side of the bad experience we were talking about, is there like a really good experience you had that just really sticks in your memory that you'd like to share?
Yeah, so again, in the past 2 years, I'll say it a million times, I've been very lucky to meet a lot of people that I've grown up admiring and watching and rooting for or rooting against. Or I'm a sports fan first and foremost. I may be a Yankee fan, but I love the history of baseball, and I have so much respect for players. But be that as it may, this experience actually is not baseball related. I have friends that graph professionally. That's how they make their living. And in the city, and every now and again, if there's somebody they know I really like, they'll say, hey man, meet me here, or this is the information where the person will be, good luck, whatever. So as an artist and a big monster lover and things like that, on the Mount Rushmore, my personal Mount Rushmore of creativity, Guillermo del Toro is up there. He's one of my idols. I love the guy so much, and so I'm always posting on social media drawings and whatnot. My buddy told me, hey, this was when they were doing like rounds for The Shape of Water, right before it was going to get its like big release. He told me he was going to be in the city doing a panel. He knows I love him, so he told me I should go. About a week before, I did this piece that's him, Guillermo del Toro, and then some of the characters around him that are like my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
And I had posted it on social media, I think on like Instagram and Twitter. And the thing is, you don't realize, but just because somebody doesn't retweet something or comment on something doesn't mean they didn't see it, but you assume they didn't see it. So
Right.
So I took the train right after work. I work a regular job. I was tired. The train's like 2 hours in to the city for me. Like, I get there, I'm standing out all night, it's pouring, raining. I'm waiting, I'm seeing other people from the cast, and then through like the glass door, Guillermo del Toro, like I'll never forget this, he like looks at me, he comes out, he comes straight towards me, and he goes, hey, it's you, because he recognized the drawing I was holding up that I wanted him to sign. And he cut through the crowd, came straight to me, and actually gave me a big hug. And I never get emotional, like I never get starstruck or anything like that. But just that moment of like standing there and everybody like taking second fiddle to me while I'm hugging my idol. was incredible, you know. And I told him while we were hugging, I'm like, this moment is something I will never ever forget. And you know, I got a photo with him. He was super nice, and he signed anything I wanted. And then before he left, he came back to me like specifically to say goodbye. And actually, a woman that was standing there was like, "Hey, do you know him?" I'm like, no. I'm like, no. So it was just. It sounds like I'm like embellishing it and making it up, but it was nuts. Like, I could not believe that he recognized me for my artwork and how much time and that he spent with me, and to let me know that he appreciates, you know, like a genuine fan. So even on like the train ride home, I was like crying. It was like very emotional for me. So that was by far the like one of the best moments of my life.
That's incredible, man. I couldn't even imagine, you know, meeting one of your idols and having that happen, and him actually, you know, like you said, not retweeting it or whatever, so you think he doesn't see it, and then he comes over to you. I mean, you had to have just been like blown away. I couldn't even imagine how that would be absolutely crazy for sure. That's a great story. How aggressive are you when it comes to in-person autos? Because you said that you are more of a TTM guy. So how's the in-person for you? Do you do a lot of that anymore, or is it more TTM?
So like I said, most of my in-person stuff is like at conventions, or I've been very blessed to become friendly with another guy who's a really much more talented than I am, renowned sports artist. He's the youngest person to have art in the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. He's an incredible human being, and he's been kind of like mentoring me. So through him, I've gotten amazing opportunities, whether it's like games where you're in a what do you call it? Now I'm the one spacing out. Like I went to a game that a friend of his like puts on, that's at Yankee Stadium in a box, you know, like where they have Yankees while you watch the game and you meet them there, or like going to the charity events where I get to meet guys, things like that. So, and then I do the shows on my own, you know, where I meet guys, or I have friends that get me in the back room at shows and things like that. So most of my autographing is like that. But through the mail stuff is like, I'm so busy right now with my regular job and my drawing and my art that I haven't been doing as much through the mail at all. It kind of like comes in waves. You know, I get like the bug up my butt. But as far as like the in-person city stuff, like it's such a pain in the ass to get to. It's like, even though I'm close to the city, it's about an hour and 20-minute train ride. Then you gotta stand around hoping something happens, and you gotta take the train home. Then I gotta be up in the morning at 5 in the morning. So by the time I get home, I get like 2.5 hours of sleep. So I very rarely ever do that. And the way it works is, again, I've been very lucky because I have people that do this for a living that know that I'm a genuine fan, and I'm not trying to be in competition with them. And I just want to meet some people. So they'll be like, hey, these people are coming in. You want to, you know, if you want their info, let me know, or whatever. Or I might ask them, hey, do you mind, you know, if you let me tag along or something. I'm not very aggressive, and I have a lot of respect for my friends that do this for a living, because they have this shit down to a science. They are so aggressive, and in a good way, not a bad way. They have their stuff together. They're efficient. I could probably get one autograph in the time they could get 5 from somebody. Like, it's tough, man. It's high pressure, and it's nerve-wracking. As much as like it's fun to meet somebody, you never know what you're gonna get. It's always a risk, and I've been very lucky that way. You know, like I went to the city with my wife. Good Morning America was right downstairs. We went there. Julia Louis-Dreyfus was there the day. I didn't get her because people are, you know, savage and getting autographs. I was right there in front of her. But then Kerry Russell came out. I got 2 things from her. She was super nice. And then Paul Scheer came out after, who's, you know, for people that may not know, he's from the league. Like, among other things, he's a really funny guy. He was a total awesome guy. But it's just, I don't know if it's just a lot of work for me to get in the city, and I just rather bank on more of a short thing. So unless it's somebody like I'm dying for, and the other part of it, not to go on a rant and ramble, is that with my schedule, it's very tough. A lot of these things are during the week, you know, during the day. I work a very set schedule where I can only get there late at night. So unless it's like perfect, it's not going to work out.
Right. Now, as far as TTM goes, like, do you have a like favorite TTM story, or maybe someone actually like took the time to like respond back to you, or like add a little extra something that just kind of blew you away, or some person that you were a big fan of that you didn't think was going to come back, or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I have a ton. I'm very lucky. My wife likes to joke that I could be a private investigator, like how I find information. Like I said, a lot of them are personal addresses, and I know that some people don't believe in doing that. It's all in how you do it. It's all in how polite you are, how respectful you are. I know that some people may not like it, but like I said, the best success I've had is from me finding an address on my own, not going on these mass websites where you go through a talent agency or whatever. It's also just figuring it out. As I mentioned before, I'm a huge Planet of the Apes fan. I got into Through the Mail, unfortunately, when a lot of the actors from the originals passed away. However, I did befriend a few of the remaining people, and one of them gave me his name was Wright King. He played Dr. Galen, just a small role, but he was a really great guy. He lived into his 90s. He unfortunately passed away, I believe, last year. We used to talk on the phone all the time. Like another one, Warner Kepler. He's a makeup artist. We still talk. He's, I think, 90 or 91. He tells me, about Planet of the Apes. I've been lucky to get some of the original stuff from some of the people through the mail, like some of the appliances and things like that.
That's amazing.
Another great one was, it's crazy, man. Another great one was Judy Greer, who was, a famous actress. She's been in a million things. She was just in the new Halloween. I had written her because I know she's a huge Planet of the Apes fan, and she was in the new one playing Cornelia, Andy Serkis' wife. Not thinking, whatever. And the way you do it, again, is you gotta be smart. I looked at who her husband was, because usually, a lot of celebrities don't list their address publicly. So through her husband, I found her address, because obviously they're the same. Wrote a very respectful, kind letter, sent her an original drawing, and she wrote me back a handwritten letter. I was blown away. She wrote me a handwritten letter, signed everything, sent me a care package with this I guess the sanctuary that she supports for apes, her rehabilitation. It was just so sweet. I was blown away. And then literally, a year later, somebody tagged me on Instagram and was like, "Hey man, isn't this your drawing?" And she posted that she has my drawing on her fridge and was like, "I'm so sorry, I forgot who sent this to me, but I absolutely love this drawing."
Oh,
and
wow.
that blew my mind. I saved that, man. So
that's
and then just years ago, I got Mariano through the mail. I got Andy Pettit through the mail. I got Andy Pettit last year through the mail. Just trying to think. Aaron Judge, I got a couple times through the mail. But it's just the people that really know, appreciate and go above and beyond. The friendships I've made with people is crazy.
Yeah, that's special for sure. And I've never had an experience like that yet, but I'm hoping eventually someday. I need to get back heavy into the TTMs. I'm not real heavy into the TTMs at this current time. I maybe if I'm lucky, I'll send out 30, 40 a year, So it all depends.
That's probably more than I do now, man, to be honest. It's rough.
Yeah, it's just to find the time, to sit down and type up the letter, because my handwriting is horrible. So we're going to go with the typed up letter and to send it out and stuff, it takes some time. So TTM's a little rough, but I'll get back into it eventually. But that's good stories to hold on to. With you being a big Yankees fan, this is kind of off topic and whatever, just kind of going into another tangent, but we'll go there for a second. I'm sure with you being a big Yankees fan, you've heard of Mike Mussina before, and actually, yes, and he grew up in my town that I live in, and he somehow my grandmother got to talking to his aunt and uncle, and we ended up staying at his aunt and uncle's house when we were driving across country, and they became great friends. So now my grandmother is great friends with his aunt and uncle, and we've stayed at their house a couple times as we were going across country and stuff, and we've gotten, I don't know, I probably have probably about 10 Mike Messina autographs at least, and so we've kind of. I've never met him in person, but I get his autograph enough times, I tell you what. So that's a little sidebar, little side story. Interesting. I don't even know how it came to be honest. It was just kind of one of those things where, like, my grandmother was like, oh yeah, like, I know Mike Messina's aunt and uncle, and we're like really good friends, and we talk all the time. And I was like, what? And then we ended up staying at their house a couple times, and it was just wild, so. But that's
he's like a very private but good guy, and he's a great through the mail guy. He's been amazing to everybody recently.
Yeah, he's the man for sure. Like I said, I've never met him in person, but I've met all of his family members except for him. So it's a little interesting sidebar story, but someday I'd like to meet him. We'll get there, I'm sure. But we'll see. So, but yeah, I'm actually a Red Sox fan. So,
but, there you go. You're putting up with me, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like a heavy Red Sox fan. Like, it's kind of one of those things where, like, I liked David Ortiz. He was like the draw, and now that he's kind of retired, I'm like, I could take it or leave it. So it's I wish I was heavier into baseball, but I can't do it unless I'm there. If I'm there, it's fine, but I can't watch it on TV. I don't know what it is about it. It takes too long. So.
Yeah, my wife is the same way, man. It's one of those sports that most people are either passionate one way or the other about. Very few people are passive, about it.
Yeah, but I come from a family of Cowboy fans. You said you were a Cowboy fan.
Yeah, big. I was raised a Cowboy fan, so that's what was always on. My dad had reason for it, even though we're from New York. My grandfather works for American Airlines and had to travel frequently, and there was a point in time when he was a kid when my grandfather, it looked like my family would have to move to Dallas, I guess. Obviously, I was way out of the picture, not in the picture yet. So because of that, my dad started following the Cowboys when he was like 5 or 6, and then I inherited that. Blessing or curse, you can look at it either way, I guess.
Yeah, my family's been Cowboys fans for as long as I've been around, so it's just that's how it is. They're all Cowboys fans. So I watch the Cowboys. I'm a Falcons fan myself. I defected from the Cowboys in like 2000 when but
those were rough times for us. I don't blame you. At the end of the Aikman era, and we were kind of looking for a quarterback and playing quarterback roulette, so it's been rough, man.
But hey, I still root for them. We actually just took in the Cowboys Redskins last weekend. That was awesome. That was great. We had a good time. There was a fight in the parking lot we had to break up, but besides that, it was a good time. So.
Oh boy.
But yeah, Cowboy fans are great. I tell you, it was like a Cowboys home game. There was probably like 500 Cowboys fans for every one Redskins fan, and that's no joke. I mean, it was crazy. So
that's the thing. Like, both teams I like are the most polarizing teams. You either love them or you hate them. The Cowboys are the Yankees of the NFL, and the Yankees are the Cowboys of the MLB. So.
Yep. That's just how it is. You ever get any Cowboys through the mail or in person or anything like that?
In person, yeah. I'd have to think about through the mail. I've gotten a lot of them in person. And then, a lot of them I've gotten from people. Like, I might not be able to be at a show, but, I know people that work the back room or rep certain athletes. So they'll be like, hey, man, I got Staubach coming up, or I got Dorsett coming up. You need them? Or Irvin or whatever. So I met Irvin. I met a lot of Cowboys, actually. Like, a lot of mostly the 90s guys. I actually had a ticket from the Super Bowl. I think it was, Jesus Christ, was it 30? I think it was 30. I have to double check that now. I sound like a fake fan, but I think it was 30.
It's all good.
Against the Steelers. It was like my favorite Super Bowl, man, because I remember it the most vividly and really bonding with my dad. But I got it signed by like most of the team in person.
That's awesome.
I have, some of my favorite pieces. I have on my artwork, I have Irvin, Aikman, Witten, Charlie Waters, Dorsett, Staubach. I have a ton of Cowboys and a ton of Yankees too, even more Yankees, probably more Yankees than anybody.
Now, if you had to pick a favorite piece, whether it be baseball, football, whatever, which one holds the most value, maybe to you personally, or maybe you just really love the player and you finally got him or whatever. But which piece is your favorite out of all your pieces in your personal collection?
Oh man, that's tough. As an artist, it's always changing. I mean, if you want, like, I have a few different ones for a few different reasons. I did a piece of Rivera, like probably 2 years ago, maybe, and it's a sweet like montage of him pitching. And I left space, and I had him inscribe, "We're off to Never Neverland," and I love that inscription. He got a kick out of it. I just think that for that reason, and the way that I left the space for him to sign it, was like one of my favorites. Oh boy, I'm trying to think what else I've done that I really really like. I don't know. I'd like literally have to pull up my stuff and look at it.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, like I said, the Del Toro piece I did is I love. Man,
yeah.
I did a Trout piece I like. And then I had a buddy that was able to get me Jeter, which was one of my white whales on my artwork.
That's
I have him on
amazing.
other stuff, but I got him on a drawing, and it was a beautiful signature. So for that was like a really yes, I'm so happy one. Over the moon to get him on that. Judge was an exciting one to get back on my art. And then just like El Duque is another one because he's like one of my favorites, and I've got to know him a little bit. He's been super nice. So, mostly it's like sentimental stuff. As far as the artwork goes, it changes. There's a Reggie Jackson piece I did that I love the art itself, and he was super cool with me, even though some people say he's not nice, some people say he's fine. To me, he was perfectly fine. And they're human beings. People forget that. We're all jerks sometimes.
Yeah, everybody has a bad day, so you can't really hold it against them too much, so. But, now, on the other side of things, I mean, you're an autograph collector and you have this massive collection, but outside of autographs, you said you're a big fan of the paranormal and stuff like that, and you actually have a podcast that deals with those kind of things. So let's kind of dive into that a little bit. And how did that come to be? How did you start that up? Did you have like a personal, maybe paranormal experience or anything like that led you to start the podcast? Or was it just kind of, I'm really into this thing, I'm going to start this podcast, And where can people find the podcast and stuff like that? I'll let you take it from there.
So, I appreciate it. So the podcast is called Super Normal. That's the word super, and then attached to that word is NRML. You can find it on like iTunes, Spotify, I think Stitcher. I'm not good at promoting that because my buddy Sean Forker, he's got the best pipes in the business. He's got a good radio voice, and we've been buddies for a while. But as far as like how I got into it, growing up in Brooklyn, it's a weird paradox because I was the biggest chicken. I wouldn't go to school on Halloween. I wouldn't be able to go in stores because, like, if there was, like, masks or decorations. But I always loved the stuff that was arguably legitimate, like Bigfoot, aliens, ghosts. That stuff I was cool with. It was, like, Dracula and Frankenstein and stuff like that scared the crap out of me. But I remember my sister, like, brought home, like, newspaper articles, and one of them had that classic, frame 352 of Patty from the Patterson-Gimlin film that everybody's known and come to know basically. And then one was like about UFOs in Florida, and just like since I was a little guy, I went to go to the library, take out every book I could. My mom would record every program that was on about it. So I've always had this love, and I felt so far away from like the Pacific Northwest, and then growing up with Facebook, I became aware of this whole online community of people that believed in Bigfoot, and it was really exciting and opened doors. And through that, I first got involved in that community. And before I did the sports art, I was known for my Bigfoot kind of themed art, and I still do it from time to time. I've gotten to work on a few documentaries like Beast of Whitehall from Small Town Monsters. I did a few pieces for that, things like that. But I ended up meeting this guy, Sean Forker, who really smart guy. He's like me. He's very pragmatic. When people think of a believer of Bigfoot, they think we're crazy, or Jim Bob in the trailer park or whatever. With all due respect to Jim Bob, but he's like me. Like, I'm a believer, but I'm a very skeptical believer. I'm not the type of person that says everything is Bigfoot. I believe that 99.9% of stuff out there is garbage. It makes us look terrible, but I still think that there is some legitimacy to it, and that there is a good chance there's something out there. But anyway, again, a long-winded response. We became friendly. We had a podcast a couple years ago called the Nocturnal Journal. He's got a lot of friends in the field that are respected. I have a lot of friends in the field that are respected. We had a lot of fun. He wanted to do a new show. He asked me if I'd come on because we have a very good, like, Jerry the King Lawler, Jim Ross kind of back and forth. I think you'd appreciate that.
Oh, yeah.
So he asked me to do it. I'm like, of course, man, I'm there. I miss doing podcasts. I provide the humor. I've been pretty serious on this show so far, but, I joke around. And, so there's so much fun stuff we can present. We've presented. There's so many shows on the paranormal that are just so mundane and the same thing over and over again, and we wanted to do a different spin on it. So I think the last episode we did was about the guy who found the original reel from the Patterson-Gimlin film. Before that, we did an episode on the hybrids. And the production value is great. Sean's great. The other gentleman I work with, Vance, is great. Baker, who's hasn't been on a lot of episodes. He's fun, though. He's a funny guy. So we have a good camaraderie, good chemistry, and I definitely would take a listen to it because you got a bunch of guys that believe but are, grounded, and we have a lot of fun, and it's smart, and it sounds really smooth.
Yep, and I'm in the same boat as you guys. I'm a believer, but a skeptic. But I had some paranormal experiences as a kid. I grew up in a haunted house, and that was quite the experience. Whether people believe it or not, I've had some crazy experiences in my time. Seeing full body apparition. I saw a full body apparition when I was 8 years old, and ever since then I was like, all right, there might be something to this, So that I would love to check that out for sure, and hopefully our listeners check it out as well. But that's cool, good stuff, and I'm glad you guys are doing that. And now, you said, do you cover, as far as the podcast goes, do you cover like a certain topic per episode, or do you kind of just like dive into like a bunch of different things, or how exactly does it usually go about when you do the podcast?
Yes, we have the whole first season planned out. I think we're about 5 or 6 episodes deep. We're very flexible. We do it once a week. We've had a couple weeks off. It's to answer your question, which should be good. It's one topic a week.
Okay.
We're trying to stretch it out. Our old podcast, Nocturnal Journal, Sean and I, we were doing Bigfoot, but different aspects of Bigfoot. This we've touched on. We did the Megalodon as like the first episode. Like I said, we did the hybrids, which was an episode that I produced. And if you listen, we each do a little monologue at the beginning, depending on who the producer was. So it'll give you an idea of what the episode's going to be like. My guilty pleasure is the theme song, and the little cut that Sean put on is like so catchy. I listen to that thing all the time. I feel like, self-indulgent. I just listen to that and just like stop listening because it's just very catchy. But I'm trying to think what else we did. We just did the one on Bigfoot. We've got, I think, Mothman coming up this week because there's the Mothman Festival that just happened. My other comrades went there. Unfortunately, I was not able to go. Hopefully next year. We got a lot of cool, like, unique stuff that hasn't been done, really, or discussed in the paranormal. It's not just going to be your Bigfoot and your aliens and your ghosts. Some other fun stuff, and we have a good discussion about it. And like I said, we inject some humor into it. We have some games and fun and stuff like that. So anybody who wants to listen, it's definitely worth it. Of course, I'm going to say that, but I mean it. I have fun.
Oh yeah, for sure, and hopefully people check that out. I certainly will. And outside of the autograph and paranormal realm and the art realm, you're a big wrestling fan, and I'm a big wrestling fan. So let's talk a little bit of wrestling here real quick.
Absolutely.
Of course, tonight we got it's 8:51, so Monday Night Raw's on right now, and
Yeah, this is sacrilege right here.
yes, I know, right?
Talking during Raw.
We're missing Monday Night Raw, but so they have the Firefly Funhouse, which they're doing a new episode tonight. I'm really excited for it. I don't know what you think of the character, but I'm super pumped for. They could put the Fiend on every segment of Raw, and I'd be happy. So I don't know what you think of it, but do you like the character or do you hate it? Or are you kind of in between?
I'll preface this with saying that I'm a huge Bray Wyatt fan. I think that they screwed up his first real run. They had something so good and they messed it up so bad. And I think that he's a genius and that he deserves whatever success is coming his way. He's a super nice guy. He's one of the nicest guys to the fans. I feel like it might be a little too soon that they put themselves in a corner here, and they were doing really well, like being reserved with how infrequent he was appearing, and now that he's in the title picture, he's had to turn it up a little bit. Now, regardless, like, I'm pumped to see him. I would love to see him as champion, but and I'm a huge, like I said, he's one of my favorite current guys. I'd say him, Kevin Owens, The Miz. They're probably like my top three right now. I'm probably forgetting somebody, but yeah, I mean, he's exciting. He's brought excitement back. When they first aired the Firefly Funhouse, I was like skeptical. I was like, oh God, what is this?
Yep,
but
me
after
too.
a couple weeks, when it became clear like what they're doing, I was like, holy, this is great. So to make a long story short, as they say, I love him. I'm excited, and hopefully they do not ruin this.
Yes.
And they've really backed themselves into a corner a little bit. But we'll see what happens. I gotta have faith, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat. At first I was kind of like, I don't know, but as this goes on, I'm getting more and more excited about it. And this is a big statement, but I think they're building the next Undertaker is what they're doing. Whether he gets as big as the Undertaker, that's a whole nother story in itself, but I think that's where they're going with it, because you and I both know the Undertaker's old and going to retire. I love the Undertaker, but it's time for him to hang it up. So I think that's what they're doing. I think they're building the next Undertaker. So
And what's ironic about that is that's what they said with Bray the first time when they did the whole WrestleMania thing, and people are saying, "Oh, this is going to be the passing of the torch? He's going to be the next Undertaker." And they just, they fed him to him, and that was it. And, no, I agree, man. Actually, I have an Undertaker piece I did that I got signed, which I really like too. Speaking of which, and I'm a huge Undertaker fan too, man. I saw him at the Garden. When was the last time? He was in like a tag match with Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman. It was like a 6-man tag match, and that was the summer. So that was the summer tour before the holiday tour that we went to. And just seeing him, man, it never gets old. You always get goosebumps. I was there at WrestleMania 20 at the Garden when he returned. Another just, moments you don't forget. But it's sad to see people hang on a little bit. As long as they're happy and they're doing it for the right reasons, I'm not anybody to say. But, yeah, I think the one time, we got to really see Bray's entrance, it was amazing. The Fiend. We didn't know what to expect. And it's exciting, man. I hope they keep that sense of being unnerved and unpredictability. That's the magic, and I think if we get exposed to him too much, we're going to lose that.
No, yeah, absolutely. While we're on the topic of wrestling, to kind of bring it back to the autograph realm so that we don't, stray too far from the path, but do you have any wrestling autograph-related stories that you'd like to share? Maybe you met a couple wrestlers, maybe they stayed in character to keep kayfabe alive, or maybe they were completely the opposite of their character. You never know with graphing wrestlers, so I always like to hear those kinds of stories. If you have any of those, I'll leave that to you.
I probably won't disappoint you, man. I have a ton of wrestling stories. so in New Jersey, where I grew up, is East Brunswick, and there used to be a place called the Route 18 Flea Market, and there was the store there that was a wrestling store. And whenever the WWE was in the area, the guy there would get people to come sign. So I met a ton of people that way. Through my art, I've had Charlotte Flair retweeted one of my drawings and commented on it, saying it was beautiful. I've had The Miz retweet my stuff, saying deemed awesome. And I've met a bunch of them. As much as it gets hate or whatever, I had a friend that was doing in-person autographs at the airport, and me personally, I'm like, but I was like, screw it, they're not gonna remember me. I'll try it once. I'll be polite.
Yep.
And it was super amazing. It was like one of the best nights of my life, and I met The Miz there. Had him sign the drawing. He was like looking at it at first. He's like, "You really drew this? You drew this, man?" That's So he was super nice, and he likes, the playoff people. He was like, "You guys all going to come up or just stare at me?" So I was the first one to go up to him and ask him, "Do you mind just signing my drawing?" Who else was there? That was really cool. Charlotte was cool because I got to give her a copy of the drawing. Got a picture with her. The Riot Squad were like total sweethearts, man. They won me over that night. They're like the nicest people I've ever met. So they were awesome. I got photos with them, like with a bunch of people. So, and then I did a show where I was selling art, and it was a wrestling show. And Savio Vega, who I was a fan of growing up, man.
Yep.
I saw him join the Nation at the Garden.
Oh, wow.
I remember that because I remember telling my dad, "Oh, this is not going to be part of the story." And then on Raw, on the next night, they showed it. Like, this is footage from the Garden. I was like, "Oh crap, they actually used it." So he came over to my table. He's like, "Hey man, I heard that you did a drawing of me." So I was like, "Holy shit!" So, and he looks the same now as he did then, pretty much. So I got a photo of him with me and the drawing. Wade Barrett, who was one of my favorites, also like from the more modern generation.
Yeah, he was super underused.
Yeah, oh man, they totally, he should have been a champion. He was a star, and they just misbooked him and the entire Nexus. But
absolutely.
He was super cool, man. He's like, "Hey man," because I gave him a drawing just saying, "Hey, I'm a huge fan. It's so good to meet you." And he's like, "Let me sign you a photo." So he wrote this whole long thing to me on a photo and took a photo with me, and was like super thankful for the drawing. He's saying, you need to contact the WWE about doing work for them and stuff like that. So, trying to think who else. I met Edge. I've been very lucky. I met Mankind when I was like a kid. Mick Foley. He was super chill.
He's cool.
I met Kane at his first ever autograph signing. That was at the Route 18 Flea Market. That was right when he debuted. So that was super cool as a kid. I was probably maybe 11, 12. And he was in costume. He had his hair in a ponytail.
Yep.
Just like super intimidating. I've met a lot. I've been really lucky in general in life, and it just makes me want to work harder.
Yep, absolutely. Well, funny story there. You mentioned you met Kane at his first ever signing. Well, Kane was my very first autograph. I was about, I don't know, 13 years old, I think. And it was right when he was doing the See No Evil stuff. He was on that promo tour, promoting that.
He was on Masked at that point.
Yeah, and man, he's intimidating. Holy cow! I tell you what, he's a big dude, and TV does not do him justice because he is much bigger in person. So, but he was my very first autograph, and that kind of started all this craziness. And actually, my second autograph, I didn't meet him, but my buddy got backstage passes and ended up meeting Chris Benoit and got a bunch of autographs from him and gave me one. And talk about a polarizing figure in wrestling. Chris Benoit's that, for sure, for all the wrong reasons. But, so, yeah, those two guys started the autograph journey for me. And I've kind of branched out to every sport since then. And, it's just been wild. But to meet Kane, I tell you, that that was something else. He's super nice though. I don't know if he like talked to you while he was in Gimmick because he had the mask at the time, so probably not.
No, he wouldn't. He was nice though. I remember being a kid, and he'd like, it's like, "I shake your hand," and he's like, shook his head yes, and I shook his hand, and he's nice as you can expect to be in character, because at that point he wasn't even using the voice box yet. It was literally right after he debuted, so he was very much in character.
Yeah, that's super cool. I mean, like I said, wrestling is, well, I said it on the last podcast, wrestling is the best thing to graph because you never know what you're going to get. Like, sometimes they'll be in character and they're a bad guy and they're not going to sign for you, and other times they break character and sign for you. You just never know what you're going to get with the wrestling, and that's really fun. So that's my favorite.
And I find it's ironic. Sorry, man. I find it's ironic that a lot of the nicer grappers are heels, and like a lot of the faces are not good grappers.
Absolutely. John Cena, we're looking at you.
I actually did get him through a friend on one of my drawings. He's tough now though, but yeah.
Man, I've literally been right next to the dude like 4 different times, and he's like, "No, I'm good. I'm not signing today." I was like, "Really?" Like.
I know, man, it stinks, but like I said, I'm not gonna lie and say it's not disappointing, but at the same rate, it is what it is. It just stinks because you never know if you're ever gonna get an opportunity like that again. But to them, it's they can't look at it that way. So.
Yep, I mean, like you said, they don't actually, whether we want to believe it or not, they actually don't owe us anything. So I mean, it is what it is. But I just like to pick on John Cena every now and then. It's just it's. Cena is Cena. That's just how it is. But
Yeah, I think for me, what's funny with him is like one moment I will never forget was at WrestleMania 20. He was the first person out. It was the United States Championship match against Big Show. Yep. And the pop that he got at the Garden, man, as that first person out, WrestleMania 20, it's like that is probably the moment at a live event that will stick with me the most. Just that reaction and that whole bit. And I was all for that Dr. Thugonomics gimmick. I love that stuff.
Oh yeah, I wish he'd bring it back for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good stuff. But well, man, as we maybe wrap things up here, is there anything else you would like to plug? Maybe cover that we didn't cover yet? Just anything at all that you maybe want to add last minute here? Anything like that? Like I said, feel free to plug your stuff if you want, whatever you want to do. I will leave you with an open forum for the end here, and we'll go from there.
I appreciate it. Like I said, I'll just repeat for anybody who's stuck around, Maz Adams Art. So Maz Adams Art on Instagram, Maz Adams Art on Twitter, Facebook, The Art of Maz Adams. Our website is mazadamsart.com. I'm always accepting commissions and doing personal pieces. So if you ever have anything you're interested in or want to talk, I'm more than happy to work it out. I think my stuff's fairly reasonably priced for the amount of time and effort I put into it. And again, I'm very lucky to do this, live my dream. I'm not making a lot of money, but I've gotten to meet a lot of people that just very surreal, and I continue to be grateful to anybody who is appreciative or complimentary of my work, because without people appreciating it, it would be a very hollow existence. If you want to check out the podcast, again, that's Super Normal. That's Super NRML. You can find us on wherever you would find podcasts, pretty much. I'm working with a bunch of very talented gentlemen. As I said, we have a lot of cool things planned in the future, a lot of fun to be had, a lot of cool topics. And I think overall, I just want to preach that nothing should be taken for granted. Nothing should be assumed. Do your homework. Don't expect handouts. I'm always personally willing to help people as long as they're willing to try. And if you're going to at least ask for an address or something, please have manners.
Yes.
I have seen so many people just write address ? And sometimes I'll just write, yeah, they had one.
Yep.
And I don't want to be a jerk, but it's like, come on.
Yep.
If you're going to be that lazy where you're not even going to do the work or even attempt to do the work, at least go through the trouble of having human decency and manners. So, again, you will find once you learn how rewarding it is to find some stuff on your own. And
Absolutely.
never send anything you don't want back, even as much as a shoe-in as you think it is.
Yep.
Just real quick funny story. I'm a huge Charlie Blackmon fan. I like good ball players. He's a great ball player.
Yep.
For the Colorado Rockies, they do this thing through the Rockies Foundation, which is very cool, where you send a $25 donation and an item. They'll sign up to 2 items for you for every $25. I sent Charlie Blackmon a piece I really liked that I did. I sent him like $60 because I also sent a game-used ball.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, if you could please do Chuck Nasty, which is his nickname, as an inscription, I'd really appreciate it. And that's why I threw in the extra $10. And I wrote a really nice letter, like I always do, a very genuine letter. I included a copy of the drawing for him, right? Like 3 months go by, I get the package. I'm like, this package does not look like it's going to have a ball in it. And they tell you, we're not responsible for anything lost. I get the package back, photo, beautiful, inscribed, Chuck Nasty, signed perfectly in black in the best location. Ball's nowhere to be seen. I'm out the ball. So that's the end of the story. I lost the game-used ball. That was, like an official MLB ball, which I collect a lot of game-used stuff.
Cool.
As much as I collect autographs, I have a ton of game-used stuff. And that's a whole other story for a whole other day, that collection. But, so again, even if you're certain, even if somebody's been a success a million times, things happen in the mail, man. Things happen in between, so just watch your stuff. It's not worth it. And again, it's a ball. It's like a $60 ball, whatever. I'm still disappointed, but nothing is a given, especially through the mail. That's all I'll say.
Absolutely. And now, real quick, I'll just touch on this because you mentioned it, and I'm kind of curious, so I'll just touch on it real quick. Your game-used collection, is that all baseball, or does it also branch into football-related things as well?
I'd have to double-check, but I'm like 99% sure it's just baseball. Unless I have something football that I don't remember.
All Yankee stuff?
No, actually not. People would be surprised. I probably have more Mets stuff than I do Yankees, but like a lot of it is El Duque. Like I have a batting practice hat that he wore. I have his last ever batting practice jersey in his career that he wore. I have a batting helmet from when he was with the Mets. And then like I like really fun stuff too, and like I'm known for getting really unique inscriptions. So I have a ball from this season that CC Sabathia threw to Trout, and this was like, I think it was 4 strikeouts away from 3,000, and I had CC sign it, and he inscribed it, fishing for 3,000.
Oh, nice.
And then I was at a Mets game earlier this year, and again, I'm a Yankee fan, but I love baseball. So I was invited to go to a Mets game. Jeff McNeil got hit by a pitch. Later that game, I went up, I got that ball that hit him, and I have an amazing photo because I love photography too. And I've taken some really good photos. And I was also actually on the field at Yankee Stadium like 3 weeks ago, and I got the best photos I've ever gotten in my life. And that was a very religious experience for me, being on the field with those guys. But so I got a photo of the ball hitting McNeil, and then I got him to sign it because it hit him in his shin guard. And he signed it with the date and wrote "Sweet Shin Music," which you would appreciate.
Oh, yes.
He's a wrestling fan.
Yes, that's good stuff.
And then like I got my first ball during batting practice when I was on the field, and then I just went to the Yankees-Angels game last week with my wife, and we were in first time I've ever sat in the bleachers. I had front row because I wanted to see Trout, even though now he's not playing, so it didn't work out. I got these tickets all the way back at the beginning of the season, but I still got great photos of other guys. It was Severino's debut, so I caught a ball there, so that was cool. And I have like a lot of game use hats. I have a lot of Pettit stuff. I have like 3 hats from Pettit. Trying to think what else. I have pants from Pettit. I have Derek Jeter batting glove. I have a Craig Biggio batting glove that he used under his fielding glove. I have a pair of Trout game used gloves autographed. I have a lot of stuff. Like, to me, that stuff is the coolest, man. I have dirt. I actually took dirt when I was on the field.
That's awesome.
I dropped my hat. I put some dirt on my hat, and then went out. So it's just, it's an addiction, man, and it's rough to balance everything. But to me, it's just I love the game so much. It means so much to me. So this stuff is like, I love it.
Absolutely, man. Well, I appreciate your time very much, and I thank you for being on. And we will have to have you on another podcast and talk all about your game used collection and all the stuff that we didn't cover, because seems like we got a lot more material. So we'll certainly have you on again. And but I appreciate your time, and I appreciate you being on, and hopefully you keep collecting and just doing your good stuff, your drawings and all that, and hopefully people check out your podcast and check out the drawings, and just awesome, good stuff. I really enjoyed our conversation, and I appreciate you, man.
Thank you, Anthony. I appreciate it too, and I appreciate anybody who stuck around and listened. I have no shortage of words, so I'm just really passionate about this stuff, and I appreciate it.
Well, that's what it's all about, man. We're all super passionate about this hobby, and it's great to have people like you on that are equally as passionate. So that's great to do, and we will certainly have you on again, and we will talk to you later, man. And we thank you for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you, everybody, and thank you.
All right, thanks. Bye, man. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this week's podcast with Mr. Maz Adams. Thanks again to Maz. Like I said, you can find him at mazadamsart.com, The Art of Maz Adams on Facebook, and Maz Adams Art on every social media platform imaginable, as well as his podcast, The Supernormal Podcast, which can be found on various podcasting platforms such as iTunes and all those platforms. So yes, great podcast with Maz. Thank you, Maz. I hope you all enjoyed. And until next time, thank you.